Afternoon, guys. It's about 17 afternoon. West Coast time. It's still the 15th of October, 2023. Yeah, Emergency Zeros in California. I just came across a clip concerning about MSNBC. Hit the press doing an interview with one of the big mouths in the Senate, Lindsey Graham. He wants to cause another war with the United States. This is in regards to what the hell's happening in the Middle East right now, especially with Israel and the Gaza Strip. Hezbollah on the northern end of Israel has been fudging their bets and making a little pock shot at Israel, and Israel's been responding in kind, trying to keep them in check while unfortunately taking care of things in the Gaza Strip, finding the hostages if they're still alive and rescuing them. I'm hoping they're alive, but I'm expecting them dead. I wouldn't put it past Hamas. I wouldn't put it past them. Murdering their own collateral just to prove a point. But Graham forgets that we had just gone over a major 20-year bout with the Middle East. Iraq and Afghanistan ring a bell, schmuck. Now, granted, this was related to the 9/11 attacks that we had well over 20 years ago. We found the bastard responsible. We put him under. He's fishwood. He's desecrated. He's humiliated. We got out of there. We still have the big mess in Afghanistan, let alone Iraq. And they're still trying to sort themselves out. We're in another proxy war. Seems like the United States just can't stay out of a damn war. War must be good for business and good for his pocketbook. Because he's not making money, he's not doing anything else. Might as well cause problems in the Senate and with the United States and with the rest of the world. Oh, he wants to be big on support of Israel and swing over here by going after Hezbollah. And if Hezbollah makes a move, he's blaming Iran. Because according to him, Iran is supporting Hezbollah. And therefore, he wants to bomb Iranian oil fields. Where are the Iranian oil fields at? Are they in Lebanon? Or are they in Iran? If they are indeed Iran, get on. Well, we got a problem then, don't we? We do. One-handed. The algorithms work for me. Kazakhstan. Oh, yeah. Kazakhstan. Near the Iraqi border. So basically, I'm going to blow this picture. I need to see where these things are located at. So if this bar bastard wants to bomb the crap out of the oil fields in Iran. Basically, he's talking about an active war with Iran. That's if Iran gives a go-ahead to Hezbollah or into Lindsey Graham, and Hezbollah goes into Israel. And at that point, all bets are off. All bets are off. Which means he's going to be putting the United States into a war footing with Iran. Iran had always said that we were the evil empire, even when Reagan was in office. It took over. The Iranian crazy people took over Iran and turned it into an insane asylum. And they've always expected the United States to go after them. Hell, we went after Saddam. We could have knocked down her damn door, but we didn't. Because that would be causing a hell of a lot of destabilization in the Middle East if we actually did that. He knows this, but he wants to talk tough in front of his voters. So basically what he was saying is, I'm only talking tough, but I'm not doing the deed. Because if I do the deed, then we are indeed screwed. We have allies still in the Middle East. We're still trying to keep things peacefully. Because it also helps our own stability, helps our own economic stability. See, we're not totally dependent upon our own reserves. We depend upon foreign reserves for our fuel and our energy. The thing is, in a global economy, in a global society, we all have to depend upon each other's resources to survive. We're just not surviving on our own stuff because we want to keep this arrogant notion that manifests destiny that we keep demonstrating on a constant basis, saying that we're more special than anybody else. The Roman Empire did that for centuries. What happened to them? We're short term. We only got about 240, 250, something like that. So I do the math again on this one. Let's do the math on this one, shall we? Okay, so we're talking about 1776 minus 2023. That's 247 years that we just celebrated. Almost practically, give it a few more years, we'd be celebrating 250 years. Okay, 247 years we're going to be tossing out the window. Because Lindsey Graham wants a frickin' war. How does that work? We had begun war, and I guess if we're going to be ending our country one way or another, we're going to be ending it in war. And getting into a war with the Middle East is not what we wanted in the first place. Now, granted, we sent in 2 fleets in the Mediterranean to Tehran and Hezbollah in Lebanon. We're not tolerating it. We're not going to throw anything at them, but we're just going to be showing our force. I was just showing them a teddy bear. We're going to be doing that, but Israel, yes, they are being supported by the United States to a point. Israel still has to do the slog work. And they're still hated in the Middle East, but because we're in there, it's becoming a worldwide situation, isn't it? We're stuck with the Middle East and the issues. I guess we're stuck with it. But do we want a war with Iran? People have short-term memories in our country. They don't bother studying the world. They don't study history, period. They don't want to. Somebody else has to remember the memories for them, and then they'll ignore them because they think they know better. Was Rome ever like this a long time ago? Well, we had armies trying to conquer each other. We've had rulers trying to take over the Senate government who kept fluctuating left and right. At least they had a Senate. They had another chamber for the lower caste. And whether or not they actually had a Caesar in office or not, that was good. That was up to the current administration during that time. And they had split off. One chunk died out instantly, and the other one kept surviving until they died out. But it took them centuries for that to happen. For a small time, when it comes down for the years manifested already. Smaller time for Israel. Palestine had already, if anybody studied the history of that region right there, that small region, they would have seen Palestinians were acting just like the Vietnamese. It doesn't mean I'm turning communist here. I'm trying to understand and study the history of what's going on. Trying to make some comparisons, if I'm allowed. And because of that, we're demonstrating just how much you can still invade a country and then expect it to stay there in one piece. But it isn't staying in one piece. As I said, concerning about Vietnam, how many times have they kept being invaded and they only want their control of their own country, but then had to split it off into two chunks right up to this Vietnam War? Then went back to communism. The two chunks, the lower half was Democratic, they want the rest of the half Democratic, or just keep their own below a certain parallel, and they didn't. The democratic process fell, unfortunately. Communists came and thrived. Now we're still trying to normalize relations with Vietnam. Some of those remember what the hell happened back then. Troubling, turbulent times. North Korea, in the 50s, late 40s to early 50s, they were at war with each other. They're still at war. They got an armistice, but they don't. No side surrender. We just have a buffer zone, 38th parallel. It's a diplomatic situation every time something happens in both countries. The lower side from south, democratic, elected officials, democracy running, and officials keep getting either voted out of office or arrested for something. Meanwhile, the party up in the northern territory, an absolute autocracy, running it like an empire would. Cream at the top stays on the top. Everything else is just scraps down below. That's how I look at Israel. Except there's an invading force of sorts. The United Nations still wanted to give the Jewish people a nation to live and thrive on, and they would have had a two-party if they kept up with it. There was chances and opportunities blown in that one. All you got to do is just read your history on it. And right now, with this current administration we have right here, in this current generation, how are both Palestinians and Israelis going to live? Or survive with each other? Or are they going to kill each other in the process? Hamas has already taken lives, captured lives, killed lives. Israel is responding in kind, but they're going to try rescuing hostages. We'll see if it's going to be extermination or not, because it will be condemned by the United Nations on this one for war crimes. I got a feeling on that one. So that being said, if Hezbollah makes a move against Israel, it's going to be Israel to make the move in kind by taking part of their forces to go after Hezbollah if they decide to make the move. Jordan's not. Jordan doesn't want anything to do with it. And Egypt still doesn't want anybody coming into their borders. You know how many pleading and cajolings the West can do to get people saved. They don't want Hamas anywhere near them. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. But the lives still have to be saved one way or another, unless they're going to be exterminated. And then, unfortunately, indirectly, they made themselves conspirators into a mass extermination. They refused. They just watched it all happen. And Lebanon, nobody's going across the borders anyway. So the guilt trips will be on everybody. But my question goes back to the point I was trying to raise earlier on in this video. I was blowing up Iran going to solve the damn situation in the first place. We're causing another war. More disturbances in the Middle East than we can deal with. Is Graham willing to take it that far? Is he? I want to see something real fast. I want to see if this asshole actually had any military background. If he doesn't, then he's just another wannabe. A wannabe warmonger. So it's not. See all the damn officials, well, I don't see. Ah! So the dumb shit did serve. And he got out of there as a colonel. Jag. I'm turning. Legal. And as legal. Okay. So he knows how to drive people crazy. BA in shrink and law. So you know how to con jive with people left and right. But the only thing he was doing is legal beagle. That's all. He was never deployed. He was only reserve. So the problem is with this particular gentleman, even though he did technically serve his country as a legal beagle, and stuck with the law, he never spilled blood. He never was in combat. He never went over. The only thing he did was just dealt with the law. But he was not front line. He was never front line. Oh, he could defend people in court of law. Prosecute and defend. Didn't earn judgeship, though. But he went into politics. So when he's talking about going into war, is he understanding also the legal background and also the legalities we're dealing with here? Does he understand this entirely? After all, he had a BA in psychology and a law degree. He had served in the JAG. He had served in the Air Force's JAG area. But he's never been overseas. Does he understand what combat's all about? He sees the after effect, but he hadn't seen what it's all about. Or the after effect, and people are coming back, physically and mentally broken, missing things. Doesn't report that he actually served in the VA system. To get a perspective on what combat is, what war is all about. Maybe defended people left and right, but did he actually do it? Did he actually go overseas to see what the hell is going on? Did he actually fire the gun at another human being who was about to kill him? Was he ever put in that kind of life or death situation that he understood something? Because you'd be asking me. You'd be asking me the same question. Well, where were you? How come you didn't serve? Because I was medically 4F when I came out of my mother's womb. I had no choice and no chance of serving. They wouldn't take me anyway. My doctor wouldn't have released me up to the age of limitation. I'm stuck as a civilian. I had been around vets. I had lived with a vet. I had served a vet. I cremated a vet. But it doesn't make me a vet. I just served. But I didn't take the oath. Nor did I have the opportunity or the horror of it to go across seas to see a war zone in action. No, I had the war zone in the streets. Thank you very much. Living in a time where you have gang warfare left and right, you don't know who your friend and enemy is unless they're wearing colors. I don't suppose he's ever been through that kind of neighborhood before. Or living in a town or a time like that. He probably did. It just as one said, probably was too damn special. Yes. Iran, it's not that we're afraid of dealing with them. We don't want to deal with them. We don't want to deal with their mouth. We don't want to deal with them. Especially when the lunatics took over Iran and decided they're going to be pushing things around in the Middle East. And they had been. And with the oil reserves, trying to get them enough currency to do stuff like that. Yeah. Made them the biggest, baddest bullies out there, isn't it? They kept trying to keep the nuclear age from them. They're turning out to be North Korea. They actually had the weapons. See, in North Korea, they keep the nuclear secrets to themselves for bombs and stuff by not helping the people. Except there's no nuclear generators out there. There's no nuclear power plants. They just have the nuclear capability to blow people up with it. Graham, understand this one? Does his brain kind of connect to the connections with anything and everything around him? Does he understand that what he's asking for is worse than what he knows of? And he wants a war with Iran. If Hezbollah makes a move against Israel, he considers it, by accidental circumstances, the right for us to blow oil reserves of Iran to hell. The oil reserves are on Iranian territory. We would be declaring war on them. But he wants to put an introduction into the Senate floor for that, if or when it happens. And if it happens on Biden's watch, you know Biden's going to say, it's bad enough he's already sent carrier groups out there to support Israel. They'll probably use them for humanitarian, if not just flybys, and that's about it. Israel won't have American planes or helicopters in there unless they're going to be trying to, the helicopters are going to try to take the people out if necessary, or deliver supplies if any. Be a staging ground for humanitarian aid. Get NGO ships in there. If they're going to be doing airdrops, they'll do airdrops. They can do that if given permission by Israel. I think what I'll be doing over to college is see if I can get my major changed to history or political science. As much as I could try dealing with English literature, or actually with literature, period. And they do talk about a few things representing things. I'm getting more and more into the history and political as I get older than I am in anything else. And realizing that we're in it. We already got skin in the game. We're soft than ever. So Lindsey Graham, unless you got your ass overseas to see what the hell's going on, don't talk to us about war, you asshole. You don't know your ass will hot rock. You really don't.